Another teacher friend of mine, she says, like I play music, she said when the students come in, she said, Ty, she said, you know, I'll play, what is it, Justin Bieber, I'll play Beyonce. She said, this is not the music that I prefer, but I do it because it relates, it connects. And sometimes she's able to bridge her lessons off of sometimes some of the lyrics that are in the song. And it transitions, it helps. But TV shows, movies, like someone said earlier, you have to put yourself where they are so that you can connect. Because if you know, just like when I worked, I remember when Survivor came out and I was working in corporate America and people would come to work and they would always be talking about who was voted off and the skills and strategies this person used. And those were the conversations of adults inside the workplace at the water cooler. Well, you have to put yourself in a place so that you can have the conversations with them. You're not at a water cooler, but you're in the classroom, and it helps you to connect. Use and play the music they enjoy hearing. Take time to actually get to know each student. Take time. I mean, you don't need to know 100%, but at least get to know them, because sometimes when teachers have conflict and a student is confrontational or they push back, oftentimes you don't know me. You don't even know what I'm about. And you may say, look, you know, you're just 16 years old. But the statement is true. And what they're telling you is, personally, you don't care enough to know and to learn about me. So going back to that 2 to 10 rule, you can apply that. And then start each student off with a clean slate. You got to start them off with a clean slate. You hear teachers all the time, well, I read his records from last year. So now, or you can be in a teacher's lounge and, oh, you about to get Jonathan. He's a piece of work. Now, Jonathan, for the past 3 years, has been experiencing each new year the same way. Some teacher who doesn't even know him is already going against him. Yeah. Yep. So what do you think Jonathan does? If he locks and loads his guns when he comes up in there, because he knows you're going to piggyback. You're not going to give him the clean slate because you read his records. And that, to me, is just so unfair, because you're talking students. We're not working in a prison system. See, when you work in a prison, you have actual fact that this person is criminal. You know, you have it. That's why they're there in that orange jumpsuit or whatever they're wearing. But when you're talking students, yes, they can have behavior problems, and some of it can be due to emotional illnesses, you know, educational disorders or what have you. But if you let them start off with a clean slate and you communicate that to them, I don't care what you're right. I mean, yes, you know it's good to know, but you don't use it against them and plow them down before the year starts, and all of a sudden let them, you're already behind, you know, you're already behind the 8 ball, so I'm just waiting for you to walk off that little gray line in the hall. As soon as you walk off that line, I'm sending you out of here. That person, why would I engage with you? Give genuine compliments and non-embarrassing feedback for improvement. Genuine compliments. Like I said again, people can spot a phony. Every time I speak to young people, I tell people, speaking to young people is live at the Apollo. You know, at the Apollo, if you're not good, the Sandman comes and send you up out of there. And that's the thing with young people. When they spot a phony, the siren goes off and the Sandman's coming behind you. They know. But then, non-embarrassing feedback for improvement. It's one thing, yes, the student's disrupting your class and all, but if you create opportunities or situations where you can give them the feedback, remember I said coaching and facilitating them, you know, facilitating them to a better way of behaving. You can do it through, you know, positive improvement. You can do it through feedback, and you can do it, people can correct you without embarrassing you. How many of you agree with that? I mean, I've had people when you know, as I was growing up, one of my best teachers, my third grade teacher, Mrs. Bobby Lomas, she knew how to correct me. If I got in trouble anywhere in the school, they would always send me to Mrs. Lomas, because she knew how to correct me without embarrassing. And she knew how to connect with me from an emotional side, a personal side. I mean, she had it. She's like, don't call that boy's mother. Send him up here to me. Send him up here to me. And when she retired from the school system, I was in high school. I was in the 10th grade. And my name went over the PA system, send them to the office. When I got to the office, they said, it's a cab sitting outside. Get in the cab. You're going back to your elementary school because your teacher requested for you to speak at her retirement. Now, I didn't have it. I'm like, what is going on? My mother knows this. Yeah, your mother already knows. And I was there, and it was spontaneous. Wow. And I came in. They paid for the cab. I came into school. She sat me up on stage. I'm nervous. I'm like, what am I going to say? But at that point, I just spoke from the heart, how she connected with me. She was the only teacher at that point in time in my life that cared. Now, she went off what was in my record by the time I was in the 3rd grade. I spent time in foster care as a ward of the state, ripped out of my mother's home at the age of 2 by the Child Protective Agency. My brother and I did go back home, to my mother. We went back to Cherry Hill. Cherry Hill is one of those communities that you see on the news every evening. The only thing that was told that for young black men coming out of there was crime, criminals, and jail time. But she sat there and she cared for me enough to, when she retired, she sent the cab to come pick me up to make sure I was on stage to say something on her behalf. Now, Mrs. Loman, she's passed away now. I mean, she lost her sight. She had health issues and all, but I carry her story with me because teachers make a difference. Each and every one of us has that one teacher or even professor that impacted your life in such a way because they genuinely complimented you and they knew how to give you non-embarrassing feedback for improvement.